Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Inglaterra. Entonces, el tema de hoy es cómo no perder las cosas que nosotros ahora hasta este momento practicando. So, the theme of the day is how not to lose what we've already practiced. This is the theme of the day. So, hello again from England. As we may note, still a little fresher than Medellin, but interesting change of colours, yeah? So the theme today is how not to lose what we've been practicing. So now I've noticed clearly I'm back in England and there's no one near me that's speaking Spanish. So how am I going to not lose the practice I've been getting recently? How to make sure I remember what I have been practicing, how I can maintain the level of Spanish that I have, even though really I don't have anyone now to practice with. So first thing to say is make good use of the facilities you've got. Now clearly, as we all know, YouTube is a mine of tremendous content. So one of the first things I've done is to switch all the kind of channels that I find interesting to watch, programs I like, topics I like, and I've found channels that talk about those kind of topics but in Spanish. A mixture of those, all different channels, a wide variety of voices, different accents. So I got channels from Colombia, Mexico, Chile, Spain, different accents in Spanish, lots of different conversations. So I make sure now that I'm listening for a couple of hours a day, really, in amongst different things I'm doing. So I'm not losing contact with the language. That's the really important thing. That's the first thing, ideally. So I'm going to maintain my level, hopefully, by continuing listening to the language, because obviously I'm not going to get a lot of opportunity to actually practice the language directly, because there's no one here really. I can't, when I go to the shops, I'm not going to need to speak Spanish. But for that, I can use this time to look honestly at some of the things I find more difficult about Spanish. So this might be for me more of a grammar revision, because there are some things I know I still have problems with. So I'm going to go back and revise some of those points, just to make sure that, why was I getting that wrong? But really, at the beginning, I'm just going to focus to make sure that I have time in my day to listen to as much content in Spanish as possible. Because that way, I'm not losing contact with the language, and I'm maintaining my listening practice. As far as speaking goes, well, obviously, I can still make phone calls to my family back in Medellin, so I'm going to be able to talk to some people for short points during the day, but it won't be as much as obviously I was talking before. So again, I'm going to focus more on some of the grammar points, the things I was getting wrong anyway. I'm going to use that as my route back to it. So I'm going to go back over some of the useful dialogues that I practiced previously and make sure that I can cope with those and think carefully about where I was making the mistakes before, and be a bit more, let's say, forensic about that. Really be honest and go, okay, look, it's definitely the past tenses that are causing you a problem. You need to go back to the books and look at that again. So that's how I'm going to do it for the moment. So that's something to think about. If you're still practicing the language, but you're no longer in, let's say, in your case, maybe in an English-speaking country, how are you going to do it? Well, lots of video and audio content for sure, because the more of that you can listen to, the more exposure you have to different accents, voices, and topic areas as well. You can use it mainly improve the vocabulary too, but particularly the sounds. So when you eventually get to the country, the way we sound will be less of a shock to you, at least in terms of the speed, the variance in accents, those kind of things. So start with the listening. Think about situations you're going to need to use the language in. Look at nice simple phrases you can use that you can say easily. And if you're finding any problems with that in terms of understanding the mechanics of it, like why are those words changing in the way they are, make sure you understand why, because that's the thing that's confused me sometimes in Spanish. Some of the changes of the sounds or the endings of verbs particularly really confuse me. So I'm going to go back and practice that. So there we go. That's the idea really. Wherever you are, particularly if you're no longer in a country where they're really speaking the language you're trying to practice, don't lose touch with the language. Make use of these videos. Listen more to things in the language, and that's going to help you maintain the level that you have, even though you're no longer in the country for that period. So think about that one. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, from here in England, I'll say Medellin, but no, here we are in England again. While we enjoy the autumn colours, we'll say cheerio.